I just wanted to go through 3 points that I felt like I would love some clarity on based on the comments heard tonight. The first is on whether we had a delay or an extension in the first place. If none of this had been introduced and we were still on the original Cycling Safety Ordinance, right, when would Main Street, Cambridge Street, Broadway have been done?
Miss Anna?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So Main Street would have been completed. Oh, it's hard to think back. Okay. So Main Street would have been completed in probably early spring, I believe, of 2024. Cambridge Street the first half of Cambridge Street would have been installed probably around now. We'd be finishing up. And then we'd be gearing up to do all of Broadway next year. We had intended to do the 1-year extension that was available to us for kind of because we do have a little bit of more additional mileage that falls outside of the Main Street, Cambridge Street, and Broadway corridor. So we had intended to request that 1-year extension. So those would have been finishing up after this fall. So by next fall.
Councillor Azeem.
Thank you. So I first just wanted to start with Main Street and Cambridge Street are obviously not done and not even started in the sense of actual construction yet. And so in my mind, that's a delay. The second point was that there was somewhat it was said earlier that this is, an extension, so you have until 2027, but, if you want to do it earlier, you will do it earlier, or you could if you feel like, all the items are in place. Is there any chance that, Cambridge Street, which you gave in a 3-phase plan, if we vote tonight on 2027, that it might actually be done in 2026?
Ms. McKenna?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I think that's a really difficult question for us because, the entirety of the success that we've had, or our ability to roll out the separated bike lane network as quickly as we have done so far, and regardless of what our eventual end date ends up being, we've been able to do that because of the will of the council and the political will that we've had behind us. So when I think about having, a later deadline, when we go out to a community, I think that some members of every community want us to push this as far out as possible. So if we have a final deadline of 2027, it becomes very difficult for us to accelerate that and finish everything earlier. I think that we have it, we're looking for direction from the council on what that timeline should be. So it's difficult to say that final deadline is in 2027, but go ahead and finish everything by 2026. That becomes much more difficult for us when we're out in the community working.
Councillor Azeem.
Thank you. So I think in general, we should just come up with the expectation of whatever deadline that we're coming up with is what actually will happen. And then the third question was intersections were brought up. And so, for example, if we vote for 2027 deadline, the rest of Cambridge Street won't be done until 2027. Will any of those intersections be improved before then, or it will be done mostly with that third leg of Cambridge Street?
Ms. McKenna?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's a difficult thing for me to answer right now just because we're still in the analysis phase on the intersections, and we really won't know what the level of effort on improving intersections are until we, first of all, know what the universe we're talking about and then what the right interventions are. So I'm not really able to say that we would or would not go to any particular location along Cambridge Street kind of in advance of when we go with the separated bike lanes.
Councillor Azeem.
And this is then my last question, but the inverse is true. If we did do the rest of Cambridge Street, all those intersections would be improved before, if we did them in 2026, they would be improved, before 2027. Yes,
kind of in the scale of what we do in a typical quick build or quick build plus when we're able to do some construction. Yes, we will. Every intersection will have a design treatment as we go through, whether it is as extensive as what we would do when we're looking at specific high crash locations in our other program. I can't say yet.
Thank you. So I would just say for those who are concerned about intersections that with going for 2027, we don't actually know if the intersections all will be addressed by then, but if we do vote for an earlier timeline, they will be addressed earlier. And I would just like finally leave off with, I think that this is a compromise before us. I don't think any of the four councilors are particularly excited about it, but it's saying that, hey, at the beginning of this year, there was clearly a lot of concern about bike lanes, right? So we decided, to slow things down. But since after that, we got more information. 3 cyclists have been killed. There's been a lot of accidents. Maybe we should, still have an extension, but slightly shorter than before. And I think that sounds like a reasonable place to land. And so, I hope that we can get there.